Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa barik wa salam. The other day I was in a family gathering and there was a young boy who was climbing the stairs. And as he was climbing the stairs, the eyes of the family turned towards him because he was scared about what could potentially happen if he was safe, if he could control himself in that situation. And even though I was talking, the eyes of the family was drifting towards him, and they were concerned about his safety and security and so on and so forth. And I thought about it, and I spoke about it, in fact, in my reminder, about the fact that we are, of course, conscious, and we should be, about the hazards affecting us at all times, physical hazards. And of course, young people are more predisposed to those kind of hazards around them. But so too are we as adults, as we transition and cross paths in life. We have physical dangers confronting us all the time. They could be to do with health, it could be financial, it could be safety hazards on the road, in the streets, whatever. All of these things affect us. But the most important thing, this is what I spoke about in my reminder to the family, because we had young people who were like growing older. And I spoke about the fact that the most important thing, in fact, is not even the physical being of a person, it is the spiritual heart of a person. It was very common for the early Muslims to ask, how is your heart doing? We always ask, like, how are you doing? Because we are concerned about a person's well-being. And maybe we mean by that or intend by that the physical being of a person, like how is your health, for example. But imagine the question, how is your heart doing? That's very different, because now a person has to think deeply, how is my heart actually doing? And it was very common, the Prophet's preferred prayer to repeat many times, Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. O the one that controls the heart, turn my heart towards your religion. And the heart is qalb because it's called qalb because it's the qalb, it's always shifting up and down, wavering. There are things around us that are affecting the heart's bearing. And all of us have to be conscious of that. And so therefore, these young family members were transitioning, growing older, and about to start university. So what does it mean, of course, to start university or to change year, even in a school, like to go from a year 6 to a year 7, from a primary secondary school, or from a secondary school to a college, or from a college to a university? We shouldn't be naive and think that all areas are safe areas for us and don't affect us. And I don't mean physically affect us as in our physical being, but affect our hearts. Is it that we're safe in every environment? Are our hearts safe in every environment? They're not actually. And that's what we have to think about carefully here. There are 5 things I want us to pay attention to in this reminder. And that is number 1, the necessity, obligation, imperative of praying 5 times a day. I remember that some years back there was a case in one school in London, and the kids were wanting to pray the Dhuhr prayer in the school, and the head teacher made a situation, and she said that, this is an area where we can't have people praying in. And I thought about that. And I thought about the fact that on the one hand, you have, of course, learning, which is good because learning is crucial and essential for us. But there is something more ingrained in that learning process. What if a person is learning things academically, but is not thriving spiritually and nurturing his heart? In Islam, of course, we have both things together. We have, of course, the necessity of learning things and improving one's rational thinking. But man is not just a rational being. He's not just a mind that functions and thinks about things logically. Man is many things, a complex being. A mind, a heart, qalb, a nafs, a soul, a nafs, a lower bearing, a body. All of these things are combined in a person's being. So if the most important thing, of course, here is the heart, the Prophet says that there is a lump of flesh in the body. If it's sound, the whole body is sound. If it's corrupt, the whole body is corrupt. That indeed is the heart. Therefore, the heart needs the most attention to for all of us as guardians, as parents, and also for young people to understand that as well. So therefore, the obligation of praying 5 times a day is essential. Praying in school, there's always accessibility, a prayer room, there's always going to be, you could ask the teacher for a prayer place, for example. That's something that we as parents have to always must ingrain in our children. They have to pray 5 times a day. The morning prayer, the Fajr, is of course this amazing, beginning prayer. Starting the day with that, and of course it ingrains in the person's sense of self-spirit and self-identity and motivation and courage, and of course it's a defeat of shaitan in so many areas, and of course the prayers continue like that. But that's the first thing, the praying 5 times a day. Allah in the Quran says, indeed the prayer, it wards off against indecencies and evil, and the prayer has a big capacity for a person to do that. That's the first thing to bear in mind. Number 2 are our morning and evening adhkar, our morning evening reminders, prayer, supplications. Nowadays, it's very easy for us to do that because we have apps on our phones. There's always people know about the Fortress of the Muslim, small black books that you find, sometimes different colors, and it's easy to carry around with you and to have it as a pocket thing. But nowadays you have those same books on apps, and therefore never neglect your morning and evening azkar, because that's your protection, divine protection, subhanallah. Your basic, even if you sit on the bed for a few minutes after waking up and you recite your Surah Ikhlas, Falaq an-Nas, Ayatul Kursi, your basic things that you know, and you recite them, and then you begin your day like that. So, and then leaving the dua for leaving the house. So when a child leaves the house, for example, in the morning, for all of us, to ensure that we're leaving with remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hadith, it says that when a person says, Bismillah tawakkaltu ala Allah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, then the shayateen, they say, how can we harm a person? Because the angels, they say, when the person says that, hurita, waqita, waqafita, waqamaqalat, he's guided, protected, and safe. And the shayateen, they say, how can we affect a person who's guided, protected, and safe? So therefore, to leave the morning like that and to begin the morning like that is very key. So your 5 daily prayers, and then your morning, evening azkar. And then, of course, to be in a safe environment. Now, we're social beings. We don't live and study and be all the time by ourselves, but we're amongst people. So to be in a very productive social gathering is very key. Meaning to have a good friendship circle, to be around good people. The Prophet says that a man is upon the deen of his friend. Look carefully therefore who you befriend. So we want to be around a pious company. Now, of course, as parents, we're always mindful of the fact that who our kids are playing with in school and who are they making as friends. We're always concerned about that. But growing up in a university, for example, or in a higher education learning center, there's going to be things that our kids are exposed to that they're not prepared for. Like new things, like there could be a rise of atheism in that university, or feminism, or agnosticism, secularism, all of these things. And if our kids are not aware of these things and they have no protection net, one of course is to do with knowledge. We provide a learning and training program in our academy in Sapiens Institute, and I recommend that you check up the website and you have the books for free and the courses for free. That can be a great help for you. We also have mentoring program to help young people, all people, as they transition and then as they have questions to ask, to help them in that. And all of that, of course, is free on the website. But the key thing is here to remember is that social company, your friendship circle. The Prophet gave the example of a perfume seller and a blacksmith and a good company as a perfume seller, as being he gave the example of a person who might go to a perfume seller and might not buy the perfume, but at least he leaves with a good smell. If he buys it, then of course he has the perfume and the good smell. And if a person is going to a blacksmith's furnace, the bellow of the the one who's blowing the fire, he's going to either be burnt or leave at least with a bad smell. And that's an example of a good company and a bad company. So we want to be in a good company where people are saying good things, doing good things. Nowadays, you have Islamic societies, you have people praying salah, and you want to be in that better company rather than being with a company that's not mindful at all of those things. So from the beginning, therefore, again, the praying 5 times a day, the morning, evening supplications, a good company, friendship circle, and number 4, to have access to an imam or a scholar or a knowledgeable person that you trust. Nowadays, of course, in universities, you have the emir of the Islamic society, you have an imam, a scholar. You can ask if you get confused. Our work at Sape Institute is always available for people to ask questions to. But there might be a person, a family member, a person in the town that you trust, and it's always important to ask questions if you get confused about something. So knowledge, therefore, is a cure for ignorance, and therefore always access that, make use of that. And number 5, and this is very important, is dua, is to ask Allah and to make that a regular thing that you're doing. Remember that the first, the most important, perhaps probably the first sign of our ubudiyah is to ask Allah. The first sign of our servitude is to ask Allah, because we know that we have a Lord to ask from. And that's asking. So if a young person, for example, is confused about something, needs help with something, always encourage young people, our children, our guardians, to ask Allah. We say, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. You alone worship, and your help we're seeking. And we seek, therefore, always ask Allah. Make dua to Allah, ask Allah for all things, difficulties and things. Ask Allah for that. Whenever we're failing in things, ask Allah for assistance. Whenever we need help in something, ask Allah for assistance. And if you're mindful of those 5 things, I think it will be a big help for you, inshallah. So remember, of course, all of us as parents, as guardians, are shepherds. The Prophet says that kullukum ra'in, all of you are shepherds. And of course, a shepherd is mindful because he's concerned about his flock of sheep. And so we have to be aware of the wolf around the town that might harm those sheep in the farm. And likewise, the hazards around us. So we have to keep our sheep, our flock safe from this, not just physical being, but like I said, the spiritual heart of a person. So the key thing is, just as a reminder, recap finally, the 5 daily prayers, the morning, evening azkar, your social company, your friendship circle, the importance of knowledge. Ask a scholar, ask someone that knows more about things if you get confused with things. And finally, the importance of dua, of asking Allah for assistance in all things. May Allah bless all of you. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.